I'm Vicki Hogarth, and welcome to Southwest Magazine. For generations, education has largely taken place within four walls. But what if some of our most important lessons are waiting just outside the classroom door? Nature's Backpack takes a different approach, one that encourages children and families to connect with the natural world through curiosity, storytelling, hands-on experiences, and a deeper relationship with the land itself. Their work is rooted in land-based learning and guided by a commitment to understanding the stories, history, and ecology of the place we call home, while also exploring how education can be shaped by both Indigenous and non-Indigenous teachings. Joining me today is Rhonda Sage of Nature's Backpack. She'll tell us about their programs, camps, educational philosophy, and how they're helping young people build confidence, resilience, and stronger connection to the natural world. Thank you so much, Rhonda, for coming in today and sitting down with me. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
I'd love to get you to start off the show by telling us about Nature's Backpack, just giving us an overview of the work you do and how it all got started.
Yeah, Nature's Backpack is a nonprofit organization. It started in 2022 here in New Brunswick. I did run it back in Ontario for 4 years. And it started basically because I was just seeing a disconnect with nature and children. And I just was my passion and my purpose to get people outdoors and just get more comfortable in the outdoors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that something, before the cameras were even rolling, we were talking about iPhones and the internet and how we're just always connected to a screen but somehow not connected to the outside world. Is that something over time that you've just seen, especially with younger people, become more problematic?
Yeah, in a way. We realize that the technology is here and is here to stay, and so we try to, if there's an interest, for instance, kids are really interested in video games. And sometimes if they come to our camps or they come to our programs, they're like, that's what they're thinking about. They're thinking about getting back to their homes so they can play a video game. So it's more of just trying to get them to disconnect, but you can incorporate those interests into nature, and because a lot of them use nature or natural items in the game that you can bring out into the other game. But yeah, there's a lot of disconnect because people are in the four walls playing on their phones or playing video games, or there's fears out there that keeps people indoors as well. And again, we were talking about when we were growing up, we were, I don't know if it's the same as how you were growing up, but we were outside all the time, and we never wanted to go back in. We only went back in if we wanted to eat, and that's basically it, right? But we were outside all the time. And when I go downtown, you don't see the kids outside, or even in the parks, or yeah.
Yeah, I have definitely come from the generation of you'd be home for dinner, and that was really the only rule. But it is funny when you bring up video games, and I think of things like Minecraft and watching young people build these incredible universes. But we built forts. Yeah. We built our own imaginary towns outside and did all kinds of things. And I think it's incredibly special that you're doing this at this time, when I think you're watching social media bans, for instance, happen around the world for 16 and under, and that might be something in Canada that's coming up soon. We're learning more and more of the harms of not spending enough time away from our screens. Right. Tell us a little bit, though, about how you apply that to nature, a similar approach to what they might find fascinating about video games. How do you make natural world and the places you go interesting to the young people, and what exactly is land-based learning?
Well, with kids, you really don't have to make it interesting. Kids are curious anyways. And it's when we grow up that we lose that curiosity. But kids are curious anyways. And it's just more of, as long as you're interested and you're modeling that kind of behavior, and you're just like, oh, what's this, modeling that curiosity, and it gets them right into it too. So they might be asking about their video games at the beginning, but by 10 o'clock or whatever, they're forgotten about it, and they're catching bugs or looking for crabs underneath rocks, or jumping in puddles if it's raining. It's more of when they are outdoors, it's back to their natural rhythm, because everything's all in rhythm. We we live by our rhythms, our heartbeat, our breathing, it's all rhythmic. And so when kids get outside and disconnect from all that technology, they kind of come back to their baseline of their calmness. And then it allows them to be curious again, and it's not something feeding them all the time. Like, I know, like, some parents might be like, oh, my kids are bored all the time, and my reaction to that is good, because that then they become curious and they start to use their imaginations and come out and they build like wonderful worlds that they can like create out in the woods, and find games that they play amongst themselves, which isn't done a lot these days. There's not a lot of just free play, like real free play for kids. It's all like organized.
I loved on your website, when I was doing research for this show, just that boredom is something that you said is necessary. And it really was profound to come across that sentence, and it really made me think of so many different things, and exactly that. What does boredom do? It inspires creativity. Some of the most creative people come from a place where there might not be a lot to do, so you learn to create. How did you discover that is that something you've just always known?
I think it's probably from my mom. It was like, if you were bored, you had a list of chores that you had to do, so you created something so you didn't have to do that. So it's just more of, with my own children as well, whenever they said that they were bored, I'd be like, well, you guys can go outside and you can go play with this or whatever. I'm sure you can find something to do. If not, I'll find something for you to do. And then it ends up that they play even better together, right? They find something that they can do creatively together.
And I think I can imagine right now parents at home watching the show. So we're going to get into what programs you offer, because I can hear I don't even have to see them to know how many people must wonder how they can get their kids involved. Because a friend of mine, for instance, was having this conversation with me recently about her child. She said it's really hard when they are bored, though, to resist giving them that iPad. You want to say no, but she says sometimes when it's just the easiest way and you're trying to get other stuff done, it's like, okay, go on this. So I'm sure that parents watching right now want to know more about what the programs are, how often they're offered, what age groups, and I'll let you take the lead on. I know there are quite a variety of different programs and courses and classes and age groups that you encompass with Nature's Backpack.
Yeah, and I do sympathize with parents these days, because technology is so easy, especially when you want to cook dinner in peace, or you worked all day, and I understand that giving that tablet can be very easy, and I don't judge anybody for doing that, but it does rewire their brain when they start watching that in their formative years. And so finding some ways that allows them to just go out in the backyard, or you can even just go to the dollar store and get like a bug net and a bug jar, and really you don't even need that. You could just get a jar or a tub or something. It doesn't need to be fancy, and just allow them that space, those opportunities for them to be bored, and for them an opportunity to experience that creativity in them. They're fed so much. They're told what to say and how to act and how to, in your computer games, it's like you have to do things a certain way to get to the next level. So there's no real time to just sit down and be creative, really. Even like doing crafts and stuff, half the time they all just look the same and everything. So yeah. For our programs though, when we started, I just started with some homeschoolers and just brought them out once a week. And I always say it's lucky for me it was during COVID, because it was like a good time for me during COVID, because there wasn't a lot of things for people to do. So when you couldn't go to school and all the extracurricular things were closed, because we're outdoors all the time, we could still run our programs. So we were really busy, and we expanded quite fast during COVID. Once school closed again, it dwindled off, but now we're getting back together, going back up again, now that people are starting to know what we do. So we have like a number of programs, and when I talk about them, I'm like, wow, we have a lot. I don't realize just how much we have, but we do have a forest school. Sometimes we call it forest daycare, we call it forest school, but it's more than daycare. We are outside as much as we possibly can. And that doesn't mean that we're outside all the time, because especially in the winter it's cold. So we do have indoor space that we come in to warm up, either in our yurt that we have on the grounds, or we use the basement of a building. So and that one is for 3 to 5 year olds, and it's child-led. So we are there as just facilitators to facilitate through their curiosity, to make sure that they're safe. But for the most part, they're allowed to explore themselves and ask themselves questions and really do that true play, which is so important in their development.
Going up from to the next age group, what other courses are offered?
Yeah, so we started with Earthworks, which was our pilot program, which is for 5 to 12 year olds. And it's kind of like changed with the needs of the community. So we find like there's a lot of trauma or behavioral challenges, or kids struggling in school, and working with different organizations, I've really like saw that. And we started working with schools to see if we could help with those students that are struggling in school.
Okay. Like a neurodivergent, let's say, who needs a different approach to learning.
Some who may not even go to school for a full day because their nervous system just can't handle it, because they might hold some trauma in their bodies, or they may not have, I don't know, they might just have struggling in school, and so they're not confident. So a lot of the behaviors that we see in the school almost disappear when they come out to our program, because there's no walls. They have so much room that if they get frustrated, they can move their bodies over here and do something else, or sit in nature if they want to. And because some kids do that, if they get like really emotional, they'll just go and sit. And we have hammocks, so maybe they'll just go out and sit in a hammock for a little bit. And so it's because we have so much space, then the children can regulate themselves a lot easier, rather than a room full of 20, 30 kids and one teacher, maybe one EA in a small room, that the lights are like, maybe the lights are bothering you, or all the sounds are like too loud for you, and there's all these stimulation that's coming at you and everywhere, where out in nature it's open and it's more natural.
I think you are way ahead of the curve, because so recently, actually, the timing of this interview is great. I was just up at Kingsbury Conversations, and I got to interview Dr. Melissa Lem. She's a Vancouver-based doctor, really celebrated in Canada, and she was the pioneer of, can we prescribe nature to people when maybe they're suffering from anxiety or different ailments? Nature has a power that we haven't fully recognized in not just healing us, but helping us be our best selves. How did you know that when you were getting into this line of work? It's something now that science is backing, and actually it's become, through Dr. Melissa Lem, something she's able to actually prescribe time in nature. And that's being recognized, I think, she's teamed up with Parks Canada for this. That's for people of all ages. But recognizing that early could be life-changing, especially if you're doing this before someone's coming of age. It could really change the path of their life for the better.
Yes, absolutely. And it's like, it doesn't matter where you are in your life, it could benefit not just the kids, but adults too. We live in a very busy world with lots of technology that's coming at us everywhere. We have our phones, we have our laptops, we have the, people knocking on our doors. So sometimes it's hard to shut all of that off, and then we get overwhelmed. And so if you think about an adult being overwhelmed or getting burnt out, just how much of our kids are feeling that way too. And so the reason why nature is so calming is what I mentioned before, is the rhythm. So we are part of nature, like we are nature, and we have forgotten through all the technology that we are nature, Like sometimes when you're asking like name a mammal, like nobody thinks to name humans. Well, we're mammals, we're we're animals, and we kind of separated ourselves from nature. And it's like there's lots of things out there that can bite you, and there's new things. There's bears, there's animals, there's so much that you could be afraid of. But when you start to understand, it's not so scary. When you know like where they are, or where to find them, or how to behave around them, or just who they are, you start to understand that there isn't really anything to be afraid of. Like there's respect, like you're not going to go up and pet a bear, right? But there's also, you understand like how to act around the bear if you come face to face with one, and to back away. And with that connection and that understanding, I think that opens up those opportunities to feel more comfortable outdoors. And also it's when people are overwhelmed or stressed, what's the first thing you do when you're like really, really stressed? Like, right? Deep breath, and that's like, it allows you to bring in that air and breathe and take that deep breath. And that's bringing you back into rhythm of your body. And when you're out in nature, you sit there and you watch the wind go through, and you're like, you might find yourself swaying back and forth, watching the leaves, or you go notice that the seasons are in a cycle. The sun comes in a cycle, in the east and goes down in the west. Even the birds, like they sing in the morning and then they go quiet and then they sing in the evening. So there's everything that has this rhythm to it. And when we sit outdoors, we kind of just tune into that rhythm. And it's kind of like listening to that heartbeat, right? As a child, or if you're listening to white noise when you sleep, right? There's always that rhythm that brings you back down to that calmness. And we find that happens with the kids too.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know I grew up in nature, but then spent decades in a big cement jungle, big cities, and coming home over 10 years ago. As an adult, I felt that. And it was really a weird awakening, because you think you're a grown-up who has common sense and should know, how to live your life. But it was this realization when I got here, how disconnected I was.
Yeah.
And how much it affected my anxiety, my mental health for the better, just being here. And also, it's made me an incredibly positive person to take all this time in nature. I sleep better too, because I get up in the morning and go for a walk, and you get that sunlight. Yeah. You do offer programs that include the adults, the parents too, in the process as well?
We have in the past. We do workshops every once in a while. Those ones come down to staffing. I do have an amazing team right now. I do have to put that plug out there. My team this summer is amazing. I'm just like blown away by them. But anyways,
this is me sneakily asking Rhonda to start a course for adults for me.
Well, you'd be surprised, because I have been asked many times to have like an overnight camp for adults, which would have been this week, but maybe we have it like the wrong time. Maybe we should have it a little bit later.
If you do adult sleepaway camp, I will be there in a heartbeat. Yeah. Because I think that would be, as an adult, we sometimes don't think of ourselves as needing that fun outdoor time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll play games.
Okay. Yeah, I'll bring the cameras.
Yeah. Really important for adults to play games, actually. It gets us out of our heads. We're in our heads way too much. So we do workshops. I did a couple of them. I did a nature journaling one that was a lot of fun. Had requests to do more of that, which I will eventually. We're just concentrating on our core programs that we have now. Another program that we do is we work with the Piscotah-Makati elders, and we offer experiential out in nature, so like science, biology, ecology programs for middle school students. So we piloted that last year. and it was really successful. The teachers love it, and they incorporate it into other parts of their curriculum. And now that the curriculum has changed, it's now holistic now, so everything is all like together. It's not like you have math and science. Right. It's like it's all like together, which is how we learn anyways. And so they would come out to Nature's Backpack, and we would spend the day where they would be with the elders, where they would learn their traditions and cultures and knowledge of the local flora and fauna and ecology. And they would learn language as well, so they would learn how to speak Piscata Makati, and then I would take them out, or one of our instructors would take them out for some experiential learning, where like one we talked about, in the past we've talked about salmon and fish that come up the Scoodic River, and then one of the experiential learnings was learning how to harvest a salmon, so like, and then we were like smoking it over the fire. So that was like one of them that we did. We do tracking and maple syrup. We teach them how to do maple syrup.
I would, I mean, I could speak to getting to spend time with Chief Akaji and Brian Altivator for a documentary we were doing here about the Scoodic River, the St. Croix River, and the health of it now that the dam's been decommissioned. And
that's right.
I learned so much about where we live just from doing this documentary. So I imagine this is what days are like with you, about the importance of the alewife and how it connects to the whole ecosystem. Now there are seals in St. Stephen because of the health of the river. And so I'm lucky that this is my job, so I get to be like a child all the time learning new things. But that's why it was so exciting to have you in today, because just from my own work, I know how it can make you evolve as a person, and also just give you a better state of mind because you appreciate life and your place in it all the more. For let's say schools, parents, whether they homeschool or not, if schools, teachers want to incorporate Nature's Backpack into what they're doing, how do people sign up to be involved? How does it work?
Yeah, so we have a website. It's naturesbackpack.ca. So there is an S after nature. And or through our Facebook, or just contacting one of us through programs at naturesbackpack.ca. They can get a hold of us that way as well. And we have like a really exciting camp planned for this summer. We've changed some of the themes. Some of them were a little bit too intense. So we're thinking maybe like we had a zombie apocalypse, but we found out that we were like scaring them a little bit too much. So we might have that for an adult one.
Yeah, for the adults, we can maybe start getting prepared. Who knows?
Yeah, right. And it's all about learning how to be prepared, emergency preparedness. But yeah, they can contact me as well. All the emails come to me anyways. They go to other people too, but I see them as well. But if they have any questions, we have all abilities that come to our programs. So we have like challenge abilities, we have ADHD, we have children with autism. So I always suggest, if there is any of those type of concerns, then to contact me, just so that we can make sure that we can accommodate, and we want to make sure it's a positive experience for the kids to be out there.
Yeah, and what I love about you is not only that you accommodate, but also this is part of the purpose, right? Is to help anyone who might have some barriers to learning in the traditional senses. Yeah. And on that note, I don't want to necessarily name specific people, but you've seen people change over the course of being a part of these courses, especially young people.
Absolutely.
What kind of skills or changes do you see occur?
Everything. One of them is a lot of children will come, and sometimes our requirement is that you have to be potty trained because we're outdoors, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to change them. But we've had as young as 2.5-year-olds start with us, and for a lot of them, kids don't walk out in nature these days. They walk on floors like this, and in the schools or sidewalks, so that stability of the instability of walking over uneven ground, or even like stepping over sticks and things like that, is something that kids don't know how to do. So we would have kids that would come in that would not have that physical literacy, and we would go walking in the forest where we'd be, I don't know, looking for fairies, right? And they would be stumbling like constantly, like everything that their foot would catch because they don't pick their feet up properly, and they'll be falling over all the time. And within a couple of weeks, they'll be like running through the forest. So it doesn't take long. Kids' brains are like growing and their synapses connecting and everything so fast that it doesn't take long for them to do. That's one example. We've also seen kids regulate better. So they might have some escalations of outbursts where they become quite dysregulated, and that might impede their learning, because when you're dysregulated, you know, the top half of your brain just turns off. So there's no thinking there. It's all in survival mode. You're in your reptilian brain. And so that can spill over into your schoolwork as well. So if you're in that state, you can't learn as well as the other students. And that's like just a big like snowball effect of what happens to that child. So we've found that just by having them out in nature, we meet them at where they're at. We push them on their edges. So we might say, well, just give it one more try, right? And just give them a little push. And then through those really soft guidances that they find themselves, that they have more patience, they can regulate themselves. Maybe they're going to school a little bit longer, or they can sit in class a little bit longer and do more work. And so it spills off in other places in their school, their home life, and things like that. So it's yeah, I mean, it could be a whole interview of me just telling you about.
We'll definitely have to have you back, because I am curious. I'm curious to follow, even after this summer, if we can talk even more about, I will keep you on the hook for taking me to an adult camp at some point in time. And you're usually at Ganong Nature Park. Is that one of the main locations?
That's where we're at now. We were in Rolling Dam before. So right now we're inside of Ganong Nature Park. So we have our yurt there. If you ever go down there, you'll see a round white tent kind of thing. That's our main building that we use.
Well, here's to being outdoors, and thank you so much for coming inside today and sitting down with me on this couch. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
My guest today has been Rhonda Sage of Nature's Backpack. I'm Vicki Hogarth. Thank you for watching Southwest Magazine.
Southwest Magazine is a news and public affairs production of CHCO Television.